That said, our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously, we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is entertain.
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
AMC's announcement that it would remove Disney's live-action Snow White from theaters shocked the entertainment industry. This wasn't a delayed flop, quietly disappearing into irrelevance. This was a major studio film being yanked from screens while it was still supposed to be in its prime. Disney had banked on nostalgia, big stars, and bold reinvention, but none of that mattered when theaters sat half empty. AMC stated plainly, keeping Snow White in rotation was costing them money.
I have a clip of it.
Oh, okay, great.
Her being a retard.
Okay.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
That laugh.
That is
not going to be saved by
You
the
wrote
prince.
it?
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
And for Disney, a brand that once defined box office dominance, that reality was devastating. What was supposed to be a cultural moment of empowerment and modernization turned into a cautionary tale. A story of how one actress, one live meltdown, and one studio's refusal to listen unraveled everything they had built.
It just takes a beloved movie and makes it much more boring and much less realistic. The movie is really, really bad.
The signs of trouble were there from the beginning. Even before the first trailer dropped, there was skepticism. The original Snow White is sacred to generations of Disney fans. The decision to modernize the story, to strip out romance, to rewrite characters, and to reframe the themes sparked controversy long before Rachel Zegler ever gave her first interview. But when she did, the situation escalated. At first, Zegler was seen as a bold, modern choice, a fresh face with vocal talent and charisma. But then came the interviews, the tone, the dismissive comments. She described the original as outdated, mocked the love story, and questioned the relevance of the prince altogether.
Our rights are on the line, folks.
The
Our
right to buy
reproductive
Cosby
rights.
sweaters?
Come on.
That's the face
Go
of a
vote blue.
serial killer.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
Fans weren't just skeptical anymore, they were furious. Social media exploded. Zegler's name trended for all the wrong reasons. Memes flooded the internet, and suddenly a Disney fairy tale was front and center in a cultural backlash. Instead of promoting the film, Zegler became the symbol of everything critics claimed was wrong with Disney's new direction.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Say it louder so your other eye can hear you.
So we didn't do that this time.
It all came to a head on live television. Disney had planned a tightly managed press tour to steer the conversation back toward the film's message, a modern retelling with a progressive heart. But when Rachel Zegler sat down for a segment on The View, everything unraveled. This was supposed to be a softball appearance, a comfortable daytime platform with a built-in audience. But Zegler had no interest in sticking to the script. Instead, she launched into a monologue that sent shockwaves through the fan base. She described the original Snow White as weird, implied that anyone nostalgic for it was clinging to outdated values, and doubled down on comments that the prince was creepy and unnecessary. The audience reaction? Tense silence. Producers off-camera panicked. According to reports, there were frantic gestures to wrap her segment. She refused. And then, mid-broadcast, came the moment everyone would replay on social media for days. The meltdown, unfiltered, unscripted, and completely off message. The segment cut to commercial, but the damage was already done. Within hours, clips flooded TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. The film's narrative wasn't about empowerment anymore, it was about arrogance, tone-deaf PR, and a star who torched the brand she was supposed to carry. That same evening, Joe Rogan delivered a brutal post-mortem. "This isn't just a flop," he said. "This is a cultural rejection, a live-action implosion with Disney's logo on it." Rogan unpacked the meltdown frame by frame. The live broadcast, the off-script defiance, the producer panic, the tension between Disney's corporate messaging and Zegler's independent streak. It wasn't just bad optics, it was a textbook PR disaster, Rogan argued, made worse by the fact that it happened in real time, with no way to cut or edit the fallout. He pointed to the heart of the issue: trust. Audiences didn't trust the film, the star, or the studio. And when trust collapses, even a billion-dollar machine like Disney can't hold the weight. What was supposed to be an inspiring modern take became a cautionary tale in how not to market a movie.
But the primary suffering is being sent in by my company to watch a children's movie as a single man, like 2 p.m. on a Thursday. That was the first part that was a little bit weird, but I was basically the only person in the theater.
By this point, even Disney loyalists were starting to shift uncomfortably. The studio had taken risks before: gender-swapped characters, reimagined classics, new voices. But this time felt different. The messaging was inconsistent. The story felt hollow. And worst of all, the face of the film had become a lightning rod for everything fans resented. Zegler's interviews didn't soften over time. They sharpened. She didn't just speak her mind. She took aim at the foundation. "We're not making that 1937 version," she declared in one appearance. "This is a new Snow White for a new world." To many fans, it didn't feel like progress. It felt like disdain. Gal Gadot, meanwhile, stayed out of the storm. Her silence spoke volumes. Rumors swirled of off-camera tension, whispers of ideological clashes. Whatever the truth, it was clear there would be no united front. Disney's legendary marketing machine, usually so airtight, was sputtering. The studio had lost control of the narrative, and with every new headline, the backlash grew.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely, when it got announced,
he wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
Then came the industry gut punch. AMC pulled the film. Major theater chains don't just drop Disney titles. These are sacred partnerships, mutually beneficial, lucrative, and tightly scheduled. But AMC had run the numbers, and the numbers were a disaster. Audience turnout was abysmal. Theaters sat empty. In some regions, screenings were canceled due to zero attendance. For AMC, keeping Snow White on screens meant sacrificing revenue. So they did the unthinkable. They cut it loose. There was no official feud, no dramatic statement, just quiet, calculated retreat. Disney's crown jewel had become too toxic to sell. And for the first time in years, a Disney remake was treated not as an event, but as a liability.
Very few people wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really, really bad.
Online, the collapse became performance art. Memes, hashtags, mock trailers. Not My Snow White trended globally. Edits of the meltdown were clipped, dubbed, remixed, and parodied endlessly. Zegler's comments were stitched into satire, her image turned into a symbol of corporate overreach gone rogue. Supporters defended her, said she was brave, principled, misunderstood. But the court of public opinion had already ruled. The film was no longer a product, it was a punchline. Talk shifted to damage control. Disney insiders whispered about an accelerated push to streaming. Analysts speculated about financial losses. And while Disney said nothing publicly, the silence felt loud. The backlash wasn't just loud, it was sustained. And in the world of modern entertainment, that kind of noise becomes permanent.
In every way that the movie differed from the beloved 1937 original, it was worse.
Hollywood was watching and learning. This wasn't just a failed press tour, it was a system failure, a breakdown of coordination between studio, star, and story. What was meant to be an inspirational reimagining became a case study in how cultural misalignment can sink a project before it even premieres. Executives took notes. Contracts will change. Interview formats will tighten. The days of unscripted promotion may be numbered. And casting decisions, they'll face new layers of scrutiny, not just for diversity, but for discipline. But beyond corporate takeaways, the emotional lesson hit harder. Audiences don't just want representation, they want reverence. If you inherit a legacy, they expect you to carry it, not burn it down.
It's no really knock on her. If you did the autobiography of Malcolm X, would you cast Tom Hanks? If you remade Moana, would you cast a little Irish guy? No, you wouldn't. So that was off the top.
AMC's decision was more than a programming adjustment. It was the final verdict. The audience had spoken. The theaters had emptied, and the largest exhibitor in America had walked away, not from a small indie film, but from Disney. Snow White won't be remembered for its visuals, its cast, or its themes. It will be remembered for a meltdown that derailed the entire release, a cultural implosion that turned a fairy tale into a cautionary tale. And as Joe Rogan said, this wasn't just a PR disaster, it was a generational moment. A reminder that in 2025, brand power isn't enough. If your star mocks the story, if your message alienates your fans, if your response to backlash is silence, even Disney can lose the room. And when that happens, not even a magic mirror can fix it.